So tonight's entertainment starts with our dear friend Madeline playing a world debut show. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put your hands together for Madeline.
Yay!
Madeline, what are you performing tonight?
Joys in the world, right?
No, Jingle Bells.
Oh, Jingle Bells.
Yay, Jingle Bells.
Ready?
Mr. Gilbertson, next year?
Yes, absolutely. You're going to have harmonica accompaniment.
Is it okay for your dad to sit here?
Well done.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you, Madeline. And next up.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, you ready for this?
Yep, I'm ready.
No, you have to be back here, though.
Just getting
He was trying to get
Swarm.
one more second of charge.
Plug for a few seconds of energy.
Swarm Productions proudly presents 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, featuring Sven Rolick, and with special guest star, Jimmy Jr. And here's Zora.
Dorothy, have you seen this, Dorothy? Have you seen
That's
this?
your dad. That's your dad. Hi.
All right.
Come back.
Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The paper snowflakes were hung from the ceiling with care, in hopes that our family soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of goldfish and applesauce danced in their heads. And Mike in his hoodie was listening to holiday music symphonic, while Susan sat around with her Tanqueray and tonic. When suddenly Mike realized they had forgotten the puppet show, they would need to scramble fast to come up with something apropos. Mike had been chatting about Christmas in a way quite loose-lipped, but now at the 11th hour, they had forgotten a puppet show script. Mike sat down and tried to write it, but nothing would come. He tried and he tried, but he just felt quite dumb. There would be no puppet show at Christmas, he couldn't believe. Then at once the solution, he could call his brother Steve. But there was a problem, Mike soon realized, because Steve was living on the Upper West Side. Mike called Steve and began to flatter, and Steve realized that the puppet show did matter.
Away to Philly, I could fly like a flash.
Steve said.
Because you know I wouldn't miss that bash.
Thank you, Steve. You're always quite philanthropic.
Mike said.
But you know, we don't have a topic.
That's true.
Steve replied.
The puppet show usually uplifts. But everything this year has been quite miffed. An earthquake in Haiti. And the Gulf spilled fuel. And don't get me started on the eruption of Ivan Foshul. The nasty election and all the unpassed bills. The Blackhawks beat the Flyers, and the Giants beat the Phils.
Woo, woo.
There's nothing to crow about.
There's nothing to crow about, nothing to elate. Not even excited about William and Kate.
I'm excited about it. So am I.
Not me.
There's got to be something.
Mike replied with despair.
Our family needs a good show. They really do care.
Then suddenly, to their wondering eyes did appear, was the puppet show idea that they would do this year. It would be a poem, and ignore all that sad business, and rejoice in the spirit of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. This year's disappointment could make you quite sick, but you know in a moment that it must be St. Nick who can bring smiles to children like Rachel, Ethan, and Zora. And for good measure, we'll throw in a menorah. Because though sometimes this year it seemed like we always lose, it's nice to remember moments of recent good news. Don't forget that 33 men were able to survive underground. And then cheers of Chile were heard all around. And not to be lost in the politics so darn partisan was the most beautiful goal over Angola by Landon Donovan. And besides the small victories out in the world, there were daily life moments that thankfully unfurled. Because while we are still trudging through a bad economy, there's been lots of great news this year in the Froelich family. Mike's class action lawsuit was pretty cool, but more important was the birth of baby Rachel. And that wasn't the only birth bulletin, because this year we also welcomed little Ethan. Some tricky business happened in the industry, so Carboni is gone and Dad now works with Scaparati, which by the way might have been hitting the skids if Dad hadn't moved south. But no problem, it's nearer the grandkids. Also doing fine are our friends Maddie, Carrie, and Ben. And in case you were wondering, the Tool Library's still open. It's been great having Mike G living nearby in Philly. And just as great for him, a jet named Tony. Susanna kept at it, fighting unjust powers. Mike finally did a half marathon in under 2 hours. We're grateful to family and friends who mean much to us, who make us laugh and support us without much fuss. Family and friends who support us when we have babies. Friends like Dorothy, who let us in when we've lost our keys. Brothers who came down from New York to make our kitchen a wreck. Friends who then help us build our brand new deck. Family who are always near us and by our side. Family who make us laugh by going to hide. So today we're taking a break from our weeping and wailing, and we will not speak a word about Sarah Palin.
Thank God.
Eat some cookies from a vendor, wash them down with a hot toddy, because we're lucky to be surrounded by so many bodies. And if you're hungry or you're really quite thirsty, don't worry, because this year we've got roast turkey. And now we must end the traditional way with 8 tiny reindeers and a miniature sleigh. So he sprang to that sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Yay! Puppeteers, take a bow.
Good job, puppeteers.
And Jim the narrator.